Welcome back to another MECH 1000 video. We're still in Chapter 8, in which we learned how to make dimensions and multiliters. And one last thing we learned in Chapter 8 is how to make or use the hatch command to make section lines. So let me check my template here that I'm using to see. Yeah, it doesn't look like I specifically have a layer for hatch, and I probably should. So I'm going to bring up my layer properties box, create a new layer for hatch. I'll just call it hatch, and I'll make it some color other than white. Maybe I'll make it a dark gray. Okay, so now that I have a hatch layer, I can make that the active layer. And it is a continuous line. I don't want it to be a center line or hidden line. I want it to be continuous, because if I want some kind of pattern in my hatch, I can do that with a pre-loaded hatch pattern. So the hatch command is on the draw toolbar in the lower right. So if I click that, it should bring up a ribbon here that shows me different options. So there are lots of different hatch patterns. I could use a solid fill pattern, and all you have to do is click in the area where you want the hatch to go. And actually, I didn't even click. I just, with my cursor in here, it kind of gave me, I guess I did click. It gives me a preview of what that would look like. So there's solid hatch. The most common hatch pattern that we use is this ANSI 31, which is just the parallel diagonal lines. This is used for just default materials, indicating solid material that's cut through in a section view. We've got ANSI 32 that's used for steel. This is where you've got two lines a little closer together and then a bigger space in between them until you get to the next pair of lines. And if I use this little pull down arrow here, you can see there are tons more. There's a cross hatch pattern. If you're doing architectural type stuff, there are brick patterns. I don't know why it's showing up like that. Could be the scale of it. There we go. So you can see there it's previewing as I scroll my cursor over these different hatch patterns, what they all look like. So I want to go with the ANSI 31. I can choose that. You can also adjust the angle. Let's say I want to rotate it 90 degrees. That makes it go diagonal in the other direction. You can adjust the scale. Maybe if I think those lines are too close together, I can adjust the scale from 1 to 2, and that makes them farther apart. Now, if you're reading the directions in the textbook for some of our section drawings, it tries to tell you how far apart these lines should be, and it's really impossible to know. You can't even place a dimension between hatch lines. So I don't get too worried about how far apart they are. It's really just about kind of eyeballing it and seeing, does it look like it needs to be bigger or smaller to try to match what's in the textbook. So just sort of use a trial and error approach with the scale to just kind of make it look right. And like I said, you can adjust the angle, you can adjust the scale, you can select the different pattern, and then just click the green check mark when you're done, and you've got hatch inside that boundary. Now, if anything should happen to that boundary, let's say I stretch out this drawing. Yeah, see, AutoCAD now will adjust the boundary, and the hatch just expands to match the new boundary of this shape. Back in the old day, AutoCAD wasn't quite that smart, and you'd have to delete the hatch and remake it. But you can see it's gotten a little bit better. So that's how to use the hatch command. You're going to use that whenever we make section drawings, and in that section view, you want to show that you've cut through solid material. You're going to use the hatch command to create those section lines. So that, I think, does it for Chapter 8. We've learned how to make dimensions, multi-leaders, we've learned how to modify them, and we've learned how to make hatch.